Welcome to another episode of the Emetophobia-free podcast. Today we are joined by two lovely ladies, the first of which is Lauren Singer, who is a coach based in the US, and we have one of her ex-clients, Stephanie, who's with us today. Hello, ladies. How are we?
Great.
Thank you for
Hello.
having us.
You're very welcome. I'm very excited to hear Steph's story today because I'm led to believe it's a very, very interesting one and very successful one. The only bits of information I know, because I'm going to hear this story the same time as our listeners, is that Stephanie was an ex-cop at some stage or a police officer.
Mhm.
She is now a primary school teacher, although they don't call it a primary school teacher in the US, do you?
No, elementary school.
Elementary school teacher.
Yes.
So for anyone with emetophobia, they'll be thinking, "Whoo, okay, that's something that you're exposed there a lot more than normal to people being ill." And you've also got a 9-year-old daughter yourself who is also going through the program, Steph. So really, really excited to hear your story. And Lauren, I believe you have a quote that you'd like to start with that Stephanie has shared with you recently, and then you can dive into the story. Over to you, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you. I just thought it was so relatable and so impactful what you said because it was just raw in the moment. When I asked you if you had like a specific theme or challenge that you wanted to discuss today, you just said, I don't think I have a challenge per se. The whole emetophobia life was awful and hard. It was like a nightmare trying to live in fear every second of every day and always trying to act like everything was okay. And that is just, I think that's what so many emetophobia sufferers feel and maybe don't have the words to describe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. So do you want to start us off, Stephanie, with your story? So start at the beginning. When did the emetophobia life, as you describe it, start for you?
Yeah. I think I was around 7 years old, and I don't know specifically what was going on in my life at the time, but I do remember my mom having to lay with me when I would try to go to sleep at night. And I remember her, now that I look back at it, kind of colluding with me and saying, like, you're not going to throw up. You're not going to throw up. And I wouldn't go to sleep at night because I was scared that I was going to throw up in the night. And then sometimes I'd go to bed and sleep with my sister and just have her say the same things, like, you're not going to throw up. And I'd be scared at school. In elementary school, I'd be scared all the time, all of this anxiety. And it was like a constant evil companion or evil bully that was always kind of hanging around me all the time. And throughout my whole life, I felt that anxiety and I didn't know what it was. And I remember thinking, there's got to be something that like, I don't understand why this is constantly happening. Like, why, what is this? And I remember like searching on Google, fear of being sick or fear of throwing up. And then I remember finally seeing a label for it, emetophobia. And then I thought, oh, okay, that has a name to it. And there's other people out there, and I'm not so different, and I'm not so weird. And it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah. And how old were you at that point?
I actually, that was only a couple of years ago that I actually found the term emetophobia. And then I tried to go through several different treatments to try and heal myself. And when I say that, I mean, I went through, I tried acupuncture. I tried, um, I tried reading everything I could about like self-healing. I tried drinking only celery juice in the morning because I thought that would heal me. I tried massage therapy, talk therapy, medications. Um, I actually took my daughter Emerson, who has emetophobia. I took her to the Mayo Clinic and we did a week-long exposure therapy. Um, that backfired a little bit. And I think I actually went through secondary exposure therapy. So when I say I've tried everything under the sun, I did. Oh, I tried red light therapy. That I had like those red lasers being shooted at.
Okay.
I tried that. And then I remember I typed in like specific or like specialized therapy for emetophobes. And then I saw that Thrive program came up. And then I remember sending it to my mom because she's really good about reading reviews and she's always been supportive. And she said, the reviews look really good.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that it's different than what all these other treatments are. And as an emetophobe, you always get kind of scared because you don't want exposure therapy. That's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what Thrive is.
No.
It's learning the perfect recipe of what this is or was for me and kind of unlearning it.
Brilliant.
And so then I got a manual, but I got the online manual. And then I kind of got stuck on chapter 3. That's a big chapter.
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of stopped. I actually, in full disclosure, I stopped on chapter 3. Mm-hmm. That's the big space chapter. That's a heavy chapter. Mm-hmm. And then I stopped and I thought, no, this isn't for me. I stopped. And then my emetophobia was running rampant. And I remember I was in the kitchen and I was trying to cut carrots for dinner and I was sobbing. And my husband came over and he's like, just set that down and go take a break. Just because I felt like I physically couldn't live my life anymore. I was paralyzed. I couldn't do anything anymore. Mm-hmm. And he's like, just go sit down. And I went to my phone and I happened to see Lauren's Instagram. And I said, please help me. Mm-hmm. And I might even tear up because she did.
Oh, that's lovely.
She's awesome. But I know I did it myself. I know I had the power. It's all with me. And she made me see that in the Thrive program. I could see that I had the power. I'm powerful.
How
to
lovely.
Do it.
Yeah. Really nice. So this is where you come in, Lauren.
Yeah, I'm tearing up a little bit too. It's so impactful. It's so important. It's such an important journey. And I remember when you first reached out to me, how non-functional you were, and you were desperate, but you were also really, really hungry to learn and to put the effort in. And that is what I really appreciated about working with you. You were always there. Mm-hmm. You were always on time. You did the homework. You were inquisitive. You asked me all these questions. You were always thinking about how to apply it to your life. Like, she'd reach out throughout the week. And apart from sending me really funny videos, which I appreciate, there was so many questions like, how do I apply it to this part of my life? And it wasn't just about emetophobia, right, Steph?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Being a mom or being a teacher, it's a constant conversation with yourself. Right. The Thrive program teaches you how to thrive in every part of your life. Mm. And so I clarified a lot of that with you, Lauren.
Yeah, and I think one of the main things and one of the first things we started working on was how you were talking to yourself. I remember, I think it was way early on, you didn't even want to give yourself permission to have a nice weekend. And that's really stuck out to me. You were just like, I don't deserve that. Remember?
Mm-hmm. And, yes, I remember I was actually like right outside my classroom. And I remember it was a really hard week. And then I remember my emetophobic voice was like, well, you had a hard week, but, well, it's time to maybe just, well, you might throw up this weekend, and so you're not going to have a nice weekend. Mm-hmm. It's like that kind of like emetophobic voice that I learned to recognize and stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you did so much like inner voice work. And I think that was so, so important for you to just, it's not just about overcoming emetophobia. It's about learning how to love yourself,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good job.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I like the bit you were saying, you really appreciated the fact that Stephanie showed up and she put the work in and she was inquisitive and she was asking you, how does this apply to this area of my life? And how does it apply to that area of my life? It's a very active process, isn't it? So it's something that you have to really dive into and really go for it and really want to apply it and really want to get over this thing and put the effort in and the work in, because it does take effort and it does take work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yes. It's a lot of work, but I think sometimes you get to the point where you're like, I'm so tired of my life being like this. I'm tired of not being able to cook dinner with my husband, and I'm tired of not being able to play with my daughter outside. I remember we were playing in the snow, and she was building a snow fort. And I remember being paralyzed, thinking, was the dead of winter in Minnesota and it's neurovirus season. And so I couldn't actively play with her because I was so anxious about neurovirus season, and I was so tired. I got so tired of it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I have to do something. I want to live my life. I deserve it. I deserve it.
Yeah. That's another good point. Stephanie went through during the thick of neurovirus season in Minnesota, which she has a lot of good stories about.
Yeah.
I can't wait to dig into those. But really quick, one thing that's so important to note, about your journey and every emetophobe's journey that I don't think that they always recognize is that it's not linear. You expect it to just be like getting better and better. And it does generally get better and better each week. But, going into one of those stories about the child on stage, which I want you to share, it was like not even a week later after this story that you were doubting yourself, that you were second guessing yourself, that your perfectionistic lens was there to be like, well, no, am I actually getting over this thing? But go ahead and tell that story so that they understand why I'm saying that.
Oh, so yeah, I'm an elementary school teacher. So we have K through 4 at my school. So the littlest of the littles. And we had a concert. It was a Christmas concert, and all the kids are dressed up super cute. But the bad thing about that is children get nervous. And sometimes when we get nervous, we might get a little bit upset tummy. So all the students were on stage, and all of a sudden one of them got sick. And instead of the old Stephanie running at the site, because I used to run in my school, I would go the complete opposite way because it happens a lot in elementary school. I would go the opposite way. I was like, okay, where's the garbage can? Let's just get this taken care of. This is what we do, right?
Yeah.
It's a fact of life. And girl, I'm just going to rub your back. Let's just get this taken care of. And it was great. And it was a win. But like Lauren said, then the next week, I was doubting myself. And I think I was at my daughter's swim competition, and I was doubting myself. And I was feeling really down, like I wasn't over this thing. But it's not linear. And every step you take, you are doing better. Just sometimes you're going to stumble, and it's peaks and it's valleys and it's successes, and you are getting better. You just have to be really, really gentle with yourself. And it's a self-love process, and it's a wonderful one, and it's so worth it because in the end, you love yourself so much.
Yes,
absolutely.
You really do.
So when did that, for my information and my knowledge, when did that, in terms of weeks into the program, when did that take place, the incident on the stage?
It was pretty early, wasn't it? 3 or 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think it was like pretty early.
Yeah.
And I was still kind of doubting myself. But I think when the program really started hitting home for me, and when I started feeling really, really good, was chapter 5.
Right.
I love that chapter. I actually reread that chapter sometimes too, because it makes me feel like I'm very powerful and I can do anything. And because I can. And it helps me as a mom, because I'm raising a little girl in a very hard time, and I want her to know that she can do anything. And what we tell our kids is powerful. So if we tell them that they're amazing and smart and wonderful, or if I tell my kids, my students, I call them my kids, if I tell my students you're amazing and you're smart and you're wonderful and you're intelligent and you're capable, they believe it.
Yeah.
And so I believe that for her. And so this book and that chapter and this program, it's like, yeah, that's an important part. And so, yeah, I reread that chapter. I figure, hey, I can do that as much as I want, right?
Absolutely. And so you should. And it's chapter 5 in the new manual, I guess. So we're talking self-esteem here.
Yes, I think they probably rearranged it.
I think they rearranged it a while ago. It was chapter 4, self-esteem. So I was just clarifying which was which.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
yep.
Self-esteem. Fabulous.
Self-esteem, yep. That's a good one.
Good. Lovely. Okay. So my question would be then, there's loads of examples, I'm sure, as a also ex-elementary school teacher, loads of examples of exposure to vomit in teaching. But we've never had a cop or an ex-cop on before. Do you have any stories in how your
Yes.
emetophobia affected you during that job?
Yes, I was actually thinking about that. I think I did better with emetophobia as a police officer, and I thought a lot about why, and I think I asked Lauren about this too. And I think when you're a police officer, you concentrate a lot on your power because we're taught from day one, you are going to go home at night and you take care of you. Yeah. So it is, at the core, it is teaching yourself that you're important and your number one job is to take care of you. Otherwise, we can't take care of others. But there were times when I would deal with some pretty significant things, and I'll keep it pretty vanilla, but I do remember when I would have to administer I was an EMT as well, so I would have to administer some first aid to victims of different things. And one time this person was in cardiac arrest, and I was fine with all of that. But then when vomit was present, I couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm dealing with all of this. I'm dealing with a number of issues. There's a car wreck right here, and I'm dealing with all these victims, and I can handle that. But when vomit was entered the picture, I was like, okay. Then I got panicky. Mm-hmm. And I find it really interesting how that emetophobia had that strong hold still. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to me.
Yeah. If you've never had emetophobia, it's very hard to understand how that can be the case. And it's very hard to comprehend just how debilitating emetophobia can be, because it is massively debilitating when you're living with it. And I think if you are someone without emetophobia, perhaps you're a loved one, you have a loved one with emetophobia and listen to this podcast for them, or as a part of, helping them through it. It is massively all-consuming, and it doesn't follow logic in any way, shape, or form. There's no logic to it, and it is all-consuming, and it's not something that is you choose. You didn't choose to have vomit enter the picture and then freeze and not be able to do anything. It's not a choice that you're making, and it is really, really difficult to live with, which is why it's so important that you're here today. And I'm so thankful to you, Stephanie, for being here, because the more voices we have saying, do you know what? Me too. I've had this. I've lived with it. It's really, really hard. It had a massive impact on my life, but now I don't have it, and I don't need to. You don't need to have it either. It's so important. That message is so, so important. So I just wanted to say, mid-podcast, thank you so much for being here, because I really do appreciate it. And I know everybody else out there who's suffering will also appreciate that too.
Oh, and I do get it, because like when I was a police officer, if they were saying like, okay, you go over here and deal with this patient, or you go arrest this suspect, well, I would go arrest the suspect all day. I don't want to go deal with the vomit. Yeah. I'll go do the scary thing, because that was the scary thing to me, is the vomit. I will go arrest this man weighs me 150 pounds all day. Yeah. Because it is scary. It feels like, I saw somewhere someone said it feels like a straitjacket. I saw that on Lauren's stories. To me, it felt like you're wearing lenses, that everything is terrifying. Mm-hmm. Playing with my daughter is terrifying. Spending time with my family is terrifying. Teaching in a classroom is terrifying. Everything is scary and is going to get you. And so I do understand, because when I first started the program, when I was waiting for my physical manual, I called in sick to work that day, because I physically couldn't get off the couch. And all I was doing was sitting on my couch, and I was listening to these podcasts. That's the only thing I could physically do, because I couldn't do any more. Yeah. And I do understand. It's awful. Mm-hmm. And when people say, it's just get over it, everyone gets sick, or, then they clearly don't get it.
No, yeah, definitely no. So how was Stephanie as a client then, Lauren? How was she to take through the program?
Well, first of all, I remember when we first started talking and she shared a lot of these stories with me, like about her past. I was like, you have to go on the podcast. This is going to be so cool. That was the first thing. So I was like, okay, we got to get her over this because, no, I'm just kidding. No. Just, I would use the word again, inquisitive, delightful,
Mm,
empathetic, sweet, just easy, easy.
yeah.
And even though you were asking me a lot of questions throughout, like during the week, it didn't bother me at all as your coach because I was like, oh, she's interested. She wants to put the
Yeah.
effort in. She's trying to make this, she's trying to figure this out. And that's what I do look for in clients. I'm like, oh, good. They're putting effort into it. They're putting like a lot of thought into it. So, yeah, I just think there was, like I said earlier, it's like not linear. It was a lot of ups and downs. And I'd be like, okay, she's getting it. And I'd feel really happy and good. And then I'd get a text message like, not I'm going to die or anything, but just pretty
Safety
dramatic. And I'm like, oh
seeking.
no. Yeah, just trying to help you manage those things. And then the next week you'd be like, I got it. I'm doing really well. But that really is how it is. It is so up and down. It can be a roller coaster. But then you see, like, once they get over that thrive hump, right, and it just clicks,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
such a great feeling as a coach. And I saw that happening probably around chapter 6 or 7, I would say, right?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you also had a lot of stuff going on, like interpersonally, that you were asking me about as well, that were added challenges to your journey that you were dealing with. I won't say specifically what they were, but I know that you lost your dog, for example, and some other things that you were working through. And one thing I really, really enjoyed about it was you were constantly relating what you were learning back to helping your daughter. That's the one thing that really stuck out to me was your relationship with your daughter and how much you love and care about her. Um, and how you were trying to, like you said earlier, create an internal, locus of control for her as well, which I really admired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think sometimes I knew if I was struggling, then it would usually be the safety seeking behaviors. Then I would check in with you because then I knew that I was safety seeking. And then I think, oh, I need to try and get this under control because I'm safety seeking again. Remember
Yeah.
I told you about the okay, I don't know if you have this, but when you go to the grocery store and you get like a fruit or a vegetable, you have to put it in one of those plastic bags.
Oh,
Okay. So I remember I would be standing in the grocery store paralyzed because I can't get the top of the bag open, without licking your finger.
yeah.
Well, an emetophobe is not going to lick their finger. So I'd
No,
be
they're not.
standing at the, and I'm like, I can't get this bag open. I'm not licking my finger because then I start like reeling, like, where have my hands been? Well, I've been in the classroom. I've been dealing with 5-year-olds and I'm like, I'm not going to open this bag. And then I would send Lauren a message like, look at, I can't open this bag. I'm safety seeking. Okay, I'm going to go over to the vegetables that were just washed and then get some of the water off of there
Yeah.
and then use that to open the bag. And then I got it. But that shows you how much real estate is being used up
right.
in the emetophobe brain.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yes.
now I feel like that real estate has been freed up where I can actually think about fun stuff, or things that are productive.
Yes.
So pre-Stephanie is thinking about how am I going to open this bag to get my vegetables in? And now Stephanie is just like, I'm going to put my vegetables in this bag.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's just
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You were constantly doing, I think one thing that was really helpful for you was saying old Steph, new Steph, old me, new me. And another phrase that you used very often was like, look, I can do hard things, and I really loved that. She would send me like herself working out, anything. It didn't have to do with emetophobia. It was just, I can start to learn how to do things that are uncomfortable or challenging or unpleasant. And that really is, the key to overcoming emetophobia. So, yeah, well done.
Another thing that I did that I thought was helpful, sometimes it's hard to talk or speak nicely to ourselves as adults, but it's super easy to be kind to children. It really is.
Mm.
They're just precious little beings. So I went to my parents' house and I got some pictures of me when I was a little kid and I hung them on my mirror. And so there's like little tiny stuff. And I was like swimming in the pool and I had like a Minnie Mouse swimsuit on. And then there was another one of me wearing this cute little t-shirt. And then in the morning I would just say, hey, little Steph, like I got you. Like we're going to do this for you because you deserve it. You got this.
Nice. Yeah.
And it made it so much easier.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just feel like that was good. But yeah, the safety seeking behaviors, I still catch myself now. New stuff. The other day, my daughter and I went to eat at one of our favorite like cafes here, and I got a coffee, and then she had her stuffy, and she dropped her stuffy on the floor. And then I was like, okay, just pick it up and put it back on the table. And then she's going to eat her eggs or pancakes. And then I'm like, oh, old Steph would be like, I'm going to put this and I'm going to wash it in the washing machine. And then you're going to go wash your hands, but you're not going to touch the door handle to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And we're probably going to get a new set of silverware.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how much it's different. And I don't think I've given myself enough credit sometimes even still to realize how far I've come.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know, I love the point about little Steph, getting your pictures of little you. Because that's something that I often talk to my clients about is imagine yourself when you were little. Would you say the things that you say to yourself in your head to yourself when you were 5 years old? And they all go, no, I would never do that. I would never tell my 5-year-old self that they couldn't do something or that they were worthless or they didn't deserve a good weekend. Or we would never say that to ourselves with 5-year-olds or to a child because we know the impact. We know that would then impact their self-esteem and it would impact their emotions and then they would feel horrible. It has the exact same impact on us when we're saying that to ourselves, no matter how old we are, it still has the same impact. So being able to talk to yourself as if you would a child or talk to yourself as if you would talk to someone that you really truly loved and cared for, massively important when it comes to overcoming emetophobia.
Yes.
Massively important. So really, really nice tip, that one. Really nice inadvertent tip there, Steph. Well done you.
And I talked to my daughter about it too. I mean, she's 9, so she's getting older. But when we talk, I say, "Would you talk to mommy that way?" No, never. So don't talk to yourself that way.
Yeah.
The self-talk is really important, and I think we don't catch it unless we're aware of it. And it's so powerful. Words are so powerful.
Absolutely. So if you could summarize going through the program, Steph, in terms of the experience, what it was like to go through it, because obviously we know, and I'm sure even if this is your first podcast listening to the Emetophobia-free podcast, I hope you gathered that it's nothing like exposure therapy. But how would you describe the process?
I think it is unlearning anything that you ever have about emetophobia. And even if you don't know anything about it, you're retraining your brain. So you're kind of taking apart the recipe that makes up emetophobia. And then you're putting the pieces back together, but in a loving way.
Yeah.
And you're training yourself how to love yourself and how to thrive. And all the while, it's worthwhile. So even if you were to read just one chapter, you're still better off than if you had none. Yes. And there's no wrong way to do it. And keep talking to yourself and keep telling yourself that you're doing this for you and it's worth it, because you are worth it. I promise. I promise it's worth it.
Yeah. So how long did it take you start to finish then, if we could? I know it's very hard to say because it's not a flip switch and one day you've got emetophobia and one day you haven't. But was there a point where you thought, okay, from starting this program to, yes, I can confidently say I am new Steph now?
I started in January, was it, Lauren? And I think
yeah, that's correct.
I think by the time I went on spring break, we went to Florida for spring break, and
Nice.
I could confidently say I enjoyed my entire spring break, and I felt like I felt like Stephanie. I
Nice.
felt like myself.
Lovely.
So I would say that amount of time. I'm not a math teacher, so you'll
No.
have to. I'm an English teacher.
That's funny.
What month is spring break in? Because we don't have spring
It was
break over
March, so it was the
March.
middle of March, so it was about
here. 3 months?
2 to 3. Yeah.
2
2 to 3
months.
months. Amazing. Which is great to hear, because again, if you are listening to this and you're not in the program yet, or you've just started the program, recovery in that time is so very doable if you put the work in like Stephanie did. If you're curious, if you're asking continuously, daily, how do I apply this? If you're waking up in the morning, you're looking at a picture of yourself and going, right, we're going to do this for you, kid. If you are in it, fully in it, no taking your foot off the gas, you can get over this thing in 2 months, which is amazing to hear. Absolutely. Amazing. Lauren, do you have anything that you'd like to add? Oh, sorry, I just interrupted you there, but carry on.
No, that's okay. I was going to say she was using her journal as well, which is really, really important to solidify everything. And I love that you said not take your foot off the gas, because that is, I wrote that in your card, Steph, in the beginning. I was like, you're going to start feeling better. You're going to want to take your foot off the gas when you're like 70%, because, you've never felt that way probably in your life. And it's so important that we keep, even all the more putting our foot down through those last like 6 to 8 weeks when you're off on your own, really implementing it, utilizing your journal, right? So,
yep. And
really
and I want to say that I actually, one of my goals for when I was done with the program was going off of medication, because I needed medication to sleep, and I was on antidepressant medication, and I actually went to my doctor and I said, I want to get off my medication. Well, we live in Minnesota, and it was March, and she said, well, no, let's just wait till the weather's nice. And I said, no, I want off. And she's like, well, no, and I said, no, I'm ready to be done.
Nice.
And she's like, wait, what's going on with you? I've had her for probably since I had my daughter, so almost 10 years. Wow. So I told her all about the Thrive program, and she's like, oh, okay. So, I mean, it was at that point where she could tell a difference. And I felt like at that point, I knew that I had somehow made it, because I knew I didn't need those. I could sleep at night. I didn't wake up with that panic feeling like I wasn't worrying all night and what's going to happen. And I just felt so proud. And I think I messaged you, Lauren. I was like, hey.
You did.
Look at this victory.
You sent me a voice note. Yes. And the funniest, the thing that had me laughing the most is I think you told your doctor she was being external.
Yeah, I did. I was like, hey, can I just show you this picture? It's of the guy with like those little things around. Yeah. I'm like, weather is it's just external. You're fine. I was like,
so
really fine.
Yeah, she was thriving her doctor.
Yeah.
You had so many wins. I mean, we didn't even get to them all because there's just so many that you had. You said also, I wanted to bring up the fact that one of the goals that you had and one of the things that you overcame was starting to work out, right? And working on your core, because that was something that you previously struggled with, right? Yes. So do you want to share about that? Because that was a huge win.
Yes. So I've gone to yoga for years, but even my yoga teacher, she would turn around and laugh if we do like sit-ups or anything, because I wouldn't do them, because if that feeling in my abs would mimic a stomach ache, I wouldn't do it, because then I would feel like I was going to be sick. So since the Thrive program, I've continued yoga. Core workouts are fine. And I've increased my running and walking, and I just feel like I can do that now because it's okay. Yeah. It's accessible. It's really okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. Such a big win. And then when you were talking, I had remembered that you said you had this like light bulb moment after you listened to the podcast and we talked about memory and that it wasn't about
Oh,
the
yeah.
past and trauma. And you had said, you know what? In my yoga, I think it was in your yoga classes, they were telling you that like you bottle things up, that you store
Mm-hmm.
trauma in your body. And you just
Yep.
challenged that belief instantly. And you were like, that's not
Mm-hmm.
helpful, right?
Yes. Yes. Um, I had actually read, oh, that was another thing I tried to get rid of emetophobia. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was about, it was something about anxiety. And it was like you read the book and then you talked about how anxiety is stored in your body and then how you had to expel the anxiety and that's how you get rid of it. And then how, um, it's stored there and then it manifests through different phobias and fears.
Mm-hmm.
And that I just don't subscribe to anymore. I don't really think that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I still enjoy yoga, but I don't believe that the anxiety is stored in our body or that it's anywhere in our body. And the memory thing kind of blew my mind a little bit because the way that it was explained in the book was how we're remembering it as if we're floating above remembering. And I remember like I would try and replay a time that I was sick and I'm choosing to replay that memory. And it's not exactly how that played out. And so that was really interesting to me, that light bulb moment of memories.
Yeah. Yeah. That
It's
it's not even
interesting with the
accurate.
yoga thing. Yeah, seeing
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back to the yoga thing, going back a step now because I also like yoga and I do yoga a lot, and that's something
Mm-hmm.
that I hear a lot. And I think I've been pregnant for a while now. I'm currently 39. I'm not 36 weeks pregnant, so I'm nearly popping time. So I've not been able to do yoga for a while, but I was at a class once and they sort of said stretching out our hips and our hip flex, and they said stretch it out because of what we store
Mm-hmm.
all our it might be
Yes.
anxiety or sadness in our hips. And I just
Yep.
remember pausing and going, what on earth? Where is the evidence for that?
Yep.
Show me the science behind my sadness being in my hips, please.
Yes,
And
I've
then
heard
I
that
might do
too.
it.
And
Yes.
women store your trauma in your hips.
Yes,
I've heard
that's
that.
it.
Women, it's all in your hips. And then if you hold your
Hips.
legs like this, your legs are going to shake. And that's your trauma leaving your body. I'm like, or it's because my legs are tired.
My muscles. Yeah. Yeah. Which is, you can still love it. I think the important message there is you can still love yoga, you can still go to yoga,
Love.
but just question it.
Yep.
Just have that little internal monologue and go, hang on a minute, where's the evidence for
Mm-hmm.
that? Let's just
Yep.
take a moment. So the memory thing, just explain that a little bit more detail because you were saying, floating above your body. Were you imagining yourself being sick in the past
Mm-hmm.
and seeing yourself as if, like from
Mm-hmm.
a camera perspective? Is that what you were
Yes.
saying?
Yes. So I think also there's a podcast or something, I don't remember, where Rob Kelly explains that memories aren't what we remember. Like
Mm.
memories are not what they are. For example, if you think back to a time, usually we think of it as if we're floating from above.
Yeah.
And that's actually not accurate.
No.
And so I remember that I was remembering a time I was sick, and part of my emetophobia would be hypervigilance. Maybe this is, I can't quite remember. But then I would replay this time that I was sick. Oh, maybe it's, is that what, would it be hypervigilance? I don't know. But anyway, I would replay this time that I was sick. And then I'm thinking, well, that's not actually, well, first of all, it's not helpful. And second of all, that memory isn't accurate
Mm.
because I wasn't floating in the air when this was happening. But that's the only way I'm remembering that time I was sick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also when you look back at those memories, we talked about how you're going to be looking at them with the same lenses that you're currently wearing. So when you do
Mm-hmm.
change your lenses and you look back at that memory, if it's even at all possible to have any kind of accuracy, it's still going to change. Like if you have catastrophic
Mm-hmm.
lenses on right now, that's how it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
processed to you right now. So when we now look back at our memories, thriving, it's a lot better. It actually makes the quality
Mm-hmm.
of your life better because that is
Mm-hmm.
a main part of you. So much more positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, so are there any key points that we've not covered about your story, Steph, that you want to cover, or any words of wisdom that you have for anybody wanting to overcome their emetophobia?
I just want people to know that I truly have probably tried everything there is to try to overcome emetophobia. And this is the only thing that I have found that has truly helped me. And I can truly say that I am an ex-emetophobe and I've gotten my life back. And if you had asked me back in around Christmas time, I would have thought it was impossible. And I would have thought that my life was destined to be like this. And that I was pretty hopeless. And I even wish my husband were here to just tell you how, I mean, I just still remember that time I was trying to cut the carrot.
Yeah.
And I was uncontrollably crying because I was so panic stricken about feeling like I was going to be sick, or my daughter was going to be sick, or norovirus was going to come into our home. And I'm so thankful that I found it and that I did it. And you can do it too.
Amazing. 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 Any final words from you, Lauren?
It's just so inspirational, and I'm thankful for you, and I'm thankful, that there are people who are willing to just break through all that skepticism and the belief that it's just not possible and give it a go. It doesn't even require that much. As long as you put the effort in and you focus each week on what you're learning, you will get there. So yes, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for being brave and challenging any social anxiety. And I'm just so proud of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And I'm just going to echo Lauren here. Thank you so much for spending the time. As I said earlier, it's so important. It's called the secret phobia for a reason, because not many people talk about it. Not many people know about it because it's so under discussed and under talked about. So the more people sharing their story, like you, Steph, the better and the more informed other people can be, and the more heard and understood other people can be, because it is such a lonely phobia to live with. As you said, you heard that word, emetophobia, and you thought there are other people like me. I'm not the only one. I had the exact same thought, the exact same light bulb moment. And I think these podcasts are just so important to get out to as many people as possible, because we don't want anyone else to feel alone in it, or anyone else to feel like they can't overcome it or they're stuck with it for life, because that's just not the case. You can absolutely, there's 3 people sat on this screen here, right, that have had it and now overcome it. So that's, it proven itself. So thank you so much, both of you, for spending the time to be here today. I've really, really enjoyed listening to your story, Stephanie. It's been really inspirational and really quite heartfelt, which is just lovely. So thank you both so much, and I will speak to you both really soon.